ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me, Marcel. Marcel, you would ask me to explain the German Energiewende to a non-German audience, and it's even hard to explain it in Germany when I speak there to explain what's going on. But I will do my best. And as mentioned, in 2014, I wrote the book, The Green Blackout, Why the Energiewende isn't Working. And I used the term blackout. In Germany, in German, a blackout has a double meaning. It can also mean a confused state of mind, and it was more used in this meaning. And in Germany, people ask me often, are you a proponent of Energiewende or not? For my book, I visited the only country in Europe that's producing all this energy completely fossil-free, is Iceland. And there, the main sources are hydropower and geothermal power. Two sources that are able to feed in its electricity constantly and at very low costs. So the question is not, are you a proponent of energy transition or not? I'm clearly a proponent when it's sustainable, affordable, and clean, and all of these three qualities belong together. Not that one is more important than the other. And to speak about the special German Energiewende, we have to travel back in time to the year 2000, when the Energiewende started in Germany. So the quality and success of an energy transition depends on natural conditions, something you can't change, and the way you manage it. So the latter, the management, lies in the hand of politicians in Germany, not so much in the hands of companies and citizens. And so, when we go back to the year 2000, when it started, what was the goals of Energiewende as it was sold to the public or to the citizens? First, affordable electricity, enough green energy to power industry and households, stakeholder societies. That means many people should become not only consumers but also producers of electricity, or should be what's the goal, create a more democratic society, millions of green jobs and growing GDP, and of course reducing our carbon emissions. But affordable electricity was the first and is the most important goal then. And almost everybody in Germany still knows the famous quote of Jürgen Trittin, then Secretary for Environment and Environment Protection, subsidizing for renewable regenerative energy will cost the average household just €1 per month. That's what you pay for a scoop of ice cream. We know it has much more than 12 or 15 times or more now. And much later, Patrick Reichen, who was Secretary of State under Robert Habeck, you maybe have heard he had to resign due to a friend and a family affair last year. But he was more or less the mastermind of German Energiewende for many years. And there it's a completely different narrative. It's all about a total transition of our economy and our industrial sectors. And that's much more close to reality because in a high industrialized country, energy is everything. Energy is the key for everything. So, here we start. And here, for the first time, Germany, electricity prices went down due to unbinding under the government of Gerhard Schröder, means separation of energy production and grids. That led to much more competition on the market. And then here, the new bill regenerative energy starts in April 2000. It's going up and up and up and up to this point. Now a bit lower again, but only a bit. And worldwide, Germany is on the top when it comes to the costs of electricity. And that's, of course, creating a lot of problems in society, industry, a lot of social problems. And here, that's a very interesting chart, because for solutions of this growing problems in Germany, you always hear from the Green Party and from its supporters, we have to be faster and faster and faster, and we have to build more and more wind turbines and solar farms to solve the problem, to solve the cost problem, to solve the problem of growing scarcity, especially in winter. And this line, the red line, is a capacity, installed capacity. Here, only onshore wind. That is growing year after year. And this one, the blue lines, are the production. And you see the gap between capacity and production in general is growing. It's not by surprise when the best places for wind turbines are already taken in Germany, and it's more in the north, mainly in the northwest of the country, and you build more and more. Of course, production of electricity is not rising the same way. It's more and more costly, it's more and more expensive to add more production. And when we come back to the original goal to curb carbon emissions, this day is an example, but there are many days like this, when you compare France and Germany as a specific carbon dioxide emissions per kilowatt hour, you see the huge difference. Germany has now is the most carbon emissions next to Poland and in the EU. And as I mentioned, the problem is that it's not affordable for a lot of companies, especially companies, chemical industry, that needs a lot of electricity to stay in Germany. They're looking for alternatives. They relocate jobs and sometimes parts, branches of their production. And now, one of the leading economists in Germany, or an economist that's almost every time supports the line of the government, says transformation also means that more companies than usual will disappear from Germany. So sometimes when someone's selling you a product that's not functions well, the sentence no, that's not a bug, that's a feature, and so actually it was designed to for more GDP, for more jobs, for more efficiency, and now it's exactly the other way around. So that leading economists like him says, anyway, if they want to leave, they should. We can easily replace it, easily compensate it with new industries, with new factories. But I will show it later. But that does not happen. So that's the situation now in 2022, 2023. That equity flows out of Germany in a massive way. German investments in other countries in 2022 are 135 billion euro, and direct investments from other countries 10.5 billion. So that means a loss of equity of 125 billion euro, and that's the biggest loss in the history of the Federal Republic ever. So the main investment targets of Germany are other countries in Germany, and 30%, the rest of the world. The Inflation Reduction Act of the United States is very important, no question, but this shows that most companies want to stay in Europe, want to stay near to their original market, and actually they don't want to leave the country at all. They have to if the prices for electricity goes too fast, too high. So, and after, since the year of 2000, after 1 trillion of expenses for wind turbines, subsidies for wind turbines, for solar farms, or for grid enforcement, and many other things, after 1 trillion, this is a whole picture, and it's always very important to show this, because electricity in Germany is only 20% of the energy consumption as a whole. And still, this 2022, still this is regenerative energy, 17%. So the country is chiefly a country still of coal, of oil, of gas, and it's impossible to change it in a very short time. And this is, remember, the year 2000 was the start and the baseline. This is the result after 23 years. Though Germany was, for decades, a country that would export electricity. Now we are becoming countries that imports electricity, massive in a massive way. So, and it's very interesting to compare the figures and the numbers because till April 2023, we had still 3 nuclear power plants left. The phase out was April 15, 23. And in this first quarter, with this still working nuclear plants, we had 8.1 terawatt hours more export than import, like in the years before. And in the second quarter, 8.7 terawatt more import than export. And that's not only a question of spring or summer. This is a number for the whole, almost the whole year, from January to September 23. So it's a lasting problem. It's a problem that will even go worse. And the interesting question is, who's filling the gap? The first, in total numbers, is the Netherlands. With an energy mix with fossil energy, 3% nuclear. And the second, but with the steepest acceleration of 147.8%, is France with an energy mix that includes 70% nuclear power. So Germany has still a lot of nuclear power that's produced elsewhere. Yeah. So from the beginning, our politicians and many in the media completely underrated the systemic costs of electricity generation, with the main sources wind and solar that are volatile. And Germany is not the perfect land for wind and solar. For wind turbines, the number of full capacity hours, and Germany's average number is 2,800 per year. In solar are below 1,000. That's not very much. And that means you always need 2 systems at once. One that depends on the weather, and a system of, as you would put out, backup power stations and massive storage solutions. Plus, it's a very specific element of German Energiewende, the total exclusion of nuclear power. And not only nuclear power, the driving force, behind Energiewende is the Green Party, and it's rooting deep in the history of Green Party to exclude and oppose nuclear power. First comes, it was founded in the 80s. It comes from the Cold War in this time, and they always connected nuclear power and nuclear systems as a whole with weaponry and nuclear weapons that was a very big topic then for the Green Parties and its single roots. And they had the idea that a state that using nuclear power becomes sooner or later an authoritarian state, the nuclear state, something what never happens in a democratic country, but it was their idea, more or less their foundation stone of the party. So the exclusion of nuclear power is the first, but Green Party also excludes totally fracking gas, shale gas, we have in Germany, in Lower Saxony, alone in Lower Saxony, enough gas for the next 30 years. But it remains where it is. It's no way, as long as Green Party is a member of a coalition, to use it. Instead, it's very similar to import of nuclear power, nuclear energy from France. For them, it's obviously no problem to import liquefied gas from the United States. That is partly, fracking gas. Plus, it's necessary to transport it over the ocean, and that costs energy too. And now it's a bit of discussion in the Green Party and among their supporters and the media about carbon capture and storage, but even that is opposed very strongly in Germany. And now, only some weeks ago, there was a proposal of advisors around the Ministry of Robert Habeck, and I'm not kidding. The proposal is to do the capture of carbon dioxide in Germany, but not the storage, and bring the carbon dioxide with trains, with pipelines, with whatever, to other countries, to let them do the job of storage. I don't know if you are a bit familiar to a very famous German tale, the people of Schilda. It's very popular in Germany. It's a legend tale. And in Schilda, for example, citizens erect a new town hall and forget to build in the windows. And to fix that, they decide to collect daylight in bags and bring it into the building. It's not an idea to do carbon capture, but not storage. And Germany is not so far away from that. And even the idea to exclude completely nuclear power, but import it from another country, it's also very close to that. So it's completely not rational way. And furthermore, when we speak about companies leaving Germany, when they leave, when they relocate production, of course they don't stop production, or they produce elsewhere and relocate, not always, but often, their production to countries with a completely different electricity mix, different from Germany, especially when they relocated to China with an energy mix that consists still very much, or depends very much on coal. Though they relocated to countries with a higher emission of carbon dioxide per the same amount of value creation. And that means that what happens now in Germany, what's driving out companies, is, when you see it under climate aspects, even counterproductive. No. And the three last nuclear power plants went off-grid, as I mentioned, in April 23, against a majority population of 3/4 in pulse. And the new bill that's pushing heat pumps is refused by more than 60% of the population of the electorate. So the question is, how is it possible to pursue projects like this against a huge majority of electorate? The Energiewende had, from the start, very strong moral implications. It was never a project of trial and error, and it was never open for a true debate about pros and cons. And that has much to do with the character of the driving force, the Green Party, which is quite different from all other political parties in Germany and in Europe. It's more a mix of political party and a religious entity. Other parties may have goals. The Green Party has a mission. And their mission is not to improve little things in the country. Their mission is to save at least this country, but more or less the world, especially when it comes to climate and energy. And they are firmly convinced that, still after that, firmly convinced that Germany should lead the way for the rest of the world. In their world, there is little room for trial and error. They believe that they have the key and the solution for everything, that they have a perfect plan, and you can either follow or not. And in consequence, members or leading members of Green Party don't know critics, but only enemies, heretics, and deniers. And for many of them, it's simply unimaginable that they could be wrong and others could be right. That's not true for every single member, but it's unfortunately true for all its leaders. And I participated last year in a conference in Stuttgart where the most distinguished experts in Germany, experts for electricity production, electricity systems, grid management, storage solutions came together for a true and honest assessment of Energiewende. And actually no surprise when you know the circumstances in Germany, almost no media, no public radio, public broadcasting would report about this conference. Only one media outlet, T-Online, did, and they wrote this was a conference of climate deniers. One of the speakers was Björn Lomborg, and one Fritz Farnhold. You have mentioned him. And of course, they are not in the least climate deniers. Björn Lomborg is very much focused on the costs of mitigation carbon emissions and the cost to adapt a changing climate. But of course, he never in his life denied climate change or man-made climate change. And Fritz Farnhold was, maybe you know it, the CEO of RWE Energy, that's the green branch of RWE, that was using 100% of its electricity with wind turbines. So maybe I want to ask you, have you ever seen a climate denier? Maybe there are people who deny climate change, but I never met a climate denier in person. It's, I am afraid it's more something like Loch Ness Monster or democratic socialism. You hear a lot about it, but you never see it live. And now, after 23 years of Energiewende, we must ask how it's possible to fix the situation. Is it possible to fix it? And there are two ways to manage a project that's missing its own goals. One is to take a break, to look at the whole picture, to try to make an assessment of the whole process, to identify errors and false assumptions. And the other is to continue with the very same, but only stronger and faster. And what we see in Germany, in German politics, is unfortunately the second way. That's no surprise when you create your ideas only in very closed circles. And Gleichen and his circle was very typical for that. Then, if only the convinced discuss among each other, your learning curve remains flat. And the second problem is that many German journalists lean in general to the left. It's not a problem in itself, but most of them lean to the Green Party and adopt this perception of society of only enemies and friends and proponents of Energiewende and enemies, deniers, and so on. And many journalists ignore numbers and proportions in this process. It's a very complex process of Energiewende. To give you an example, replacing the fossil heating with heat pumps, that what was Robert Habeck wants to push through with a new bill, would save 55 million tons carbon dioxide at most till 2030. But maybe, according Öko Institute, also very green, is not an enemy of Habeck. But maybe only 10 million tons until 2030, according Öko Institute. So the additional carbon dioxide, carbon emissions due to phase out of nuclear energy and due to higher consumptions of coal and gas to compensate that, the additional number is 15 million tons per year. So, according to survey of University of Stuttgart. So when I asked journalists why they mostly ignore this additional emissions due to phase out of nuclear power, the answer is nuclear power is such a small fraction of energy generation in Germany, so the climate impact can't be that much. And when I asked them why they believe so firmly that more heat pumps are so crucial, the answer is, well, because the climate impact is so huge. That's a deep misreading and deep misunderstanding of essential facts, figures, and I often heard, I was a member of the editorial staff in a news magazine for almost 25 years. That are details, but the overarching idea is the most important. But that's the point. There is no overarching idea without details, without facts and figures and proportions. So your overarching idea is like a hovering roof with no walls. And that's not a bad metaphor for the Energiewende at all, as we see it now, as we see it today. So, what could be the key factors for a more rational energy system or discussion about an energy system in Germany? The first would be, my opinion, assessment of the German energy transition as a whole, inclusive the systemic expenses. Then stop more of the same strategy. Now we have more of the same strategy to put more wind turbines, more solar farms, without taking into account the systemic costs and the costs for the grid and backup power station and so on. Then stop denouncing critics as deniers and enemy. Our discussion means always to hear different views and ideas. And I think that's the main problem in Germany and in the German debate. And stop the German-centered thinking. Germany is not leading the way for us. It's only now, as we see it, a bad example. It's an example for how not to tackle climate crisis, how not to transist your energy system. And Germany is not only not leading the way for others, as I've shown, Germany depends more and more on others that are so kindly to feed in, send in energy from France, from Poland, from Netherlands, from other countries. So if all countries that are surrounding Germany would have the same kind of transition, we would really have a blackout and total collapse of our energy system. So it's very hard to change the way to discuss Energiewende, energy transition, as long as the German political system does not change. I don't know. I can't say if it's possible or not. I tried with my very small means, with my publications and with speeches and so on. It's not completely ignored. The 20 professors of the Stuttgart conference last year, well, that had a little impact on the discussion, but only a little, and it's still a thing that can is only done step by step in this debate. I hope that this development, especially in economy, when more and more companies are forced to leave Germany, that this could be a push in this debate, because when people feel it, when they in person, when they lose jobs, when the economic situation is getting worse and worse, that is something that can't be denied anymore. And so, in our next general elections are in 2025, and maybe then we have a more open debate. So, thank you very much for your attention.